Breaking news from the citizenship by investment world as the European nation of Cyprus decides to suspend and certainly abolish its citizenship by investment program, the same program that allowed investors to put 2 million euros and a donation into the Cypriot economy and in exchange become a Cypriot and by extension European Union citizen. It was one of two programs in the European Union that allowed this streamlined process to a quick citizenship without having to live in the country. I'm going to tell you what's going on, what it means, and what you need to do next. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, we have a team of almost 30 people dedicated to helping 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best, including getting second citizenships to increase their options. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Now, the Cyprus Citizenship by Investment Program, it has been around for years. It has been criticized within Europe for years. It is now no more. The program allowed investors to put 2 million euros into real estate as well as make a donation to the Cypriot government in exchange for the fastest track to citizenship pretty much anywhere in Europe. Faster than Malta's citizenship by investment program, faster than any exclusive fast-track naturalization program, faster than pretty much any citizenship by descent program if you have a family tree. And it streamlined the ability for anyone from a U.S. citizen to a Chinese citizen to a Russian citizen to be able to have Cypriot and by extension European Union citizenship merely by making that investment without really having any residential ties to the country. Now, as you can imagine, that has long upset people in Europe. And so the final nail in the coffin comes from Al Jazeera, the journalists who have been going around and investigating all these sorts of residence programs and banks and what have you. So here's the article from Al Jazeera, the country, the journalist arm of the country that is hated by all of its neighbors. They're going to tell you what you should think about Cyprus. Cyprus has announced it will abolish a controversial passport scheme following an investigation by Al Jazeera that revealed how high-ranking politicians were willing to issue passports to convicted criminals. The Interior and Finance Ministries of Cyprus said in a statement on Twitter that the Citizenship Through Investment program in its current form will be abolished from November 1st, 2020. They said the proposal was based on the long-standing weaknesses, but also the abusive exploitation of the provisions of the program. So let me tell you what happened. Al Jazeera, as I understand, sent in some undercover journalists to talk to some relatively high people in Cyprus, people in the parliament, the Speaker of the Parliament, I believe, and basically said, hey, we've got a guy who's a criminal. He's convicted of money laundering in China. He's our client. Can you help him? And they claim the insinuation was that, hey, if you invest more money than the 2 million euros, we can make some things happen. And that there was some relatively high-level people involved. And that goes against the nature of these programs, which is not to take criminals. Now, I have more than one passport from these programs, and I believe that due diligence is important because you don't want a program that has criminals. And I know in the Caribbean and in St. Lucia, in my case, due diligence is very strong. They ask you a lot of questions. You go through a lot of background checks. They look into really every aspect of your life. Not just are you a criminal, but litigation, bankruptcy, all kinds of things. And so it's important, particularly in smaller countries, that you have good due diligence. And so I'm not saying that people should be going around the rules. However, here's the next part of the article. The program has been regularly criticized by the European Union and anti-corruption NGOs, the do-gooders who are always interrupting my 5-star hotel stays with their conferences as they spend wildly your tax dollars, which have claimed the scheme increases the risk of money laundering through Europe's financial institutions, because if anyone's going to be taking your money and using it, it's going to be the NGOs in the European Union. Now, here's what this comes down to from my perspective. European values not for sale. That's the quote from some of the people in the European Commission who said they watched the revelations in disbelief. Oh, how I love politicians feigning outrage. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, was clear when saying that European values are not for sale, the Commission said. A Dutch member of European Parliament told Al Jazeera that the film fully exposes the citizenship by investment schemes for what they really are, a cover operations for bringing criminals and criminal money into the European Union. Well, there you have it. If you have money, you're not welcome in Europe. You're not welcome in the West. I've been saying this for a long time. Here's the reality. You have Western countries that are angry that people who can invest in small economies like Cyprus, like Malta, like Caribbean economies, that need the money, that I think, I don't know about Cyprus in particular, but in many of the Caribbean nations have done a pretty good job in using the money to do things like building lower income housing. In the case of Dominica, building an airport to get more tourism. They've done things for their people in their small countries that don't often have that many other options. Certainly Cyprus and Malta are in the EU, and they have some options. But these are small countries that I think have used these programs to their benefit to bring in investors. And of course, there should be some procedures. And I think if you look at all the programs around the world, I'd say they all, for the most part, have done a pretty good job. This is basically a warning shot that's been coming for a long time, that Europe does not like people bringing investment and getting anything in return. They like everyone following the same rules. And I'm all for rules. But if you can bring and contribute a great amount to the economy, why are you being treated the same way as someone who's moving and taking a job at the local McDonald's? But they want everyone to follow the same rules. And so these programs, I think, are going to be a lot more difficult. Now, the Caribbean programs stay where they are at. Malta's program for now stays where it's at. We'll see what's going to happen. Some people are saying that Cyprus may bring back some revised form of a program. We'll have to see. That was one of the things that the feigning of disbelief do-gooders were concerned about, that they'll just come back with some kind of new program that'll be more adaptable. I'm not so sure that they will, because they've already tightened up the program. They've already made the program more expensive. They've already added more criteria, and they've already slowed it down. It used to be you could become a citizen in like 58 days, and now it takes about 6 months, more like a Caribbean program. And so I do think that if you're looking to become a citizen of Europe, probably you're not a money launderer. Perhaps you're a guy in the United States, as so many people who've come to us this year are, who has accumulated money by working hard, and you don't like what's happening around you, and you want a plan B. And you'd like to have a plan B that gives you as much visa-free travel as possible, that gives you as many places that you can live as possible, and you like the idea of Europe, and you want to go and contribute millions of euros to an economy. Well, you now have one less option. And so where are people going to go now? Well, Malta's citizenship program has come back out at a higher price point. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. There are still golden visa programs like that of Portugal that don't require a lot of physical presence. I think that those are going to continue to be under the microscope. And there are very exclusive programs that if you can invest lots and lots of money, that there may be ways to legally get approval through legal means. But overall, moving to Europe, if you don't actually want to live there, if you want to become a citizen, is going to become more difficult. And I think that this is maybe the first step in a lot of these citizenship by investment programs requiring some kind of residence. Antigua rolled out a requirement to spend 35 days there in your first 5 years. They later rolled that back to 5 days. Okay, that's not so bad. Go to Antigua, sit on a beach for 5 days. I don't see it as being out of the question that for some of the non-European citizenship by investment programs to curry favor with the same European Union, in the future, there will be some kind of residence requirement. One thing that really stands out to me in this article is European values. And you've heard me talk about that before. You've heard me talk about how politicians will use the word values. I've said that you will see Western countries come out and say, if you're our citizen, doesn't matter where you live, you're going to pay. Why? Because those are our European values. Those are our Canadian values. Those are our Australian values. And if you're born in Australia and you don't like it, and conditions are hostile, and you want to go to Dubai or to Shanghai or to Panama City and run your business and live the way you want, it may not be allowed in the future because of everything that they're talking about European values. And such that the feigned, pain in their voices, they don't like wealthy people. They don't want you coming. And so when people ask me, should I move to Europe? I guess, but be aware that the conditions are going in the wrong direction. As to citizenship by investment programs, this says what I've been saying for years. I remember when I first started looking at all these programs for myself 10 years ago, I kept a spreadsheet. And I remember a couple years ago, I found that spreadsheet. Most of the programs had either been abolished or substantially changed. There are so many programs that were so easy or so much cheaper that now are difficult. Go back and look at the New York Times in 1993. You can probably still find the article online when Peru had a program. I don't know if it was a super formal program, but they had a program that made it into the New York Times where you could become a citizen for $25,000. Peruvian citizenship these days is actually not that bad. $25,000. Now we're talking about hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars. These programs get more expensive. They go away. And what happens is when you get in, you're in, generally speaking. Now, if you get in and you are a criminal and they find out, then they can take your passport, so don't do that. But if you get into a program, for example, if you go and get the Malta passport right now and they later get rid of it, they're not going to take your passport away. If you go and get a Caribbean citizenship now and then later they say, well, now you've got to live here for a year and pay some taxes, they're not going to take your passport away. So this is a reminder of what I always tell you. You need to find the program that interests you. You need to get something going. Even if you're going to do a residence program that takes years, lock it in. Get started before prices go up, before conditions get tighter. We are the goody two-shoes of the offshore business, as people have described us, in often not flattering ways, but I take it as a badge of honor. You want to do things properly. You want to do things legally. But to say that you can't go and invest millions of euros and get something that people who aren't investing millions of euros can't, to me, is outright ridiculous. And so I think this is an opportunity to be reminded. Go out and look at the options. Nomad Capitalist helps people sort through all the different options, figure out which one's best, and get working on it, because conditions can change at any time. In this case, you've got mere weeks before the program is canceled, and I don't really think anyone's going to be getting in under that radar. So definitely a lost opportunity for some, and a reminder to keep an eye out at what programs work best for you and to take action. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.